Hey, welcome back to Unhinged Healing on YouTube and Still Processing wherever you listen to podcasts. So, I'd love to say that this crossover episode is happening for some exciting, well planned out reason, but honestly, it's just because I didn't want to record two separate episodes of anything this week. So, in the name of efficiency, you're welcome. Here we are. But hey, maybe that's exactly what trusting yourself looks like sometimes. Knowing when to simplify and give yourself a break instead of piling on extra pressure. If you're new here, hi, I'm Mindy, life coach, writer, and professional sharer of messy life lessons. I've been through a lot: grief, trauma, healing, massive weight loss, toxic relationships, and finding my way back to myself. And one thing I've learned through all of this is self trust changes everything. In this episode, I'm sharing why trusting yourself, even when it feels hard, is one of the most powerful skills that you can build. I'll tell you about the time I literally got a celery tattoo to remind me of this lesson. Yes, really. And I'll explain why sometimes it's the best way to move forward is simply stick with what you know. This week's Substack newsletter was all about this idea too. If you read it, you know I'm navigating some big changes in my personal life right now, the kind that feel so uncomfortable, even though I know in my gut it's the right move. So whether you're feeling stuck in indecision, doubting your gut, or just need a reminder that you've got this episode is for you. By the end, you'll walk away with a powerful affirmation to help you build self-trust, a simple practice you can use when you're doubting yourself, and a fresh perspective on how to navigate change, even when it feels as bland and boring as eating celery. So stick around. This one's good. Let me start with a confession. I used to hate celery, like hate. Back when I weighed almost 400 pounds, I was convinced no one actually liked celery. In my mind, celery wasn't food, it was a punishment, like crunchy water that you choke down just because some diet told you to. I could never believe that people actually enjoyed eating it. I really thought it was just dietary fiber and water content that were only good for you and completely tasteless. Over time, as I started to learn methods of healing, like overcoming emotional eating with journaling, or going for a walk instead of yelling at my kids, or having a phone call with a friend instead of a drink, I started to make this metaphor kind of correlation between the two. And I started to say that these things, like healing, doing things that were good for me, not because I wanted to do them, but because I knew they were good for me. That was this metaphor. It was like it tastes like celery, or this is like eating celery, doing hard things, not because I wanted to, but just because they were good for me. And honestly, that metaphor has stuck with me in ways I never expected. And the funny thing is, all along the way, I actually somewhat enjoy eating celery now sometimes. And the hard things are a little bit more easy to enjoy as well. And it's because life doesn't always feel fun. So trusting yourself is so important. Making decisions that honor you. It feels like eating celery, or your version of it. It's not exciting. It's not glamorous. It's not something you're going to brag about, but deep down, you know it's what's best. I even got a celery tattoo to remind you of that very thing. Yes, seriously, I have a picture of it on my Substack. And if you ever meet me in person, I'll happily show you. So about a year ago, I realized deep in therapy, doing EMDR, being constantly triggered over the day-to-day things in my life, how badly I needed to be rebuilding my self-trust. I came across this Instagram post that said, the opposite of uncertainty isn't certainty, it's self-trust. And I had been second guessing myself constantly in my parenting, in my relationship with my new partner, in my work, leaving hairstyling to be a lifetime or full-time life coach. And I knew that something had to change. I couldn't keep peeling myself up off the carpet in a big puddle of tears every time things got hard. So, after seeing that post, I realized that rooting into self-trust could be as simple as an affirmation on my mirror. So I grabbed my giant stack of post-it notes and wrote an affirmation and slapped it on that bathroom mirror. It's still there today, and it says, I trust that I have my best interest at heart. I trust myself, so I know I'll be okay. At first, when I would repeat it to myself, it felt uncomfortable and not true, except the best interest part, because that was something that I could really breathe into and know that no matter what I was doing, I always had my best interests at heart. So I could tie the trust to that. And the more I said it, the more I started to believe it. It wasn't like poof, this self-trust just magically appeared. It became anchored in, and that note became this anchor. Like I said, it's still there. I think it's been probably 14 months on my mirror. And especially on hard days, it reminded me that no matter what, I had my own back. Even if I stumbled, even if I fucked up, and even if I didn't have everything figured out. So here's what I've learned. Trusting yourself is not about knowing everything or being certain of anything at all. It's not about making the perfect choice. It's about sticking with what you do know and letting that be enough. So, if you can think back to a time when you trusted your gut, even when it felt scary, and it turned out okay. Maybe you walked away from a friendship that no longer felt right. Maybe you took a leap in your career that felt uncertain. Maybe you chose to rest when everyone else told you to push through. Maybe you made a big change, even though it felt scary. Whatever it was, that was self-trust in action. And the more you practice it, the stronger it gets. Recently, my partner and I had to make a tough decision in my relationship with my partner. After nearly 3 years of dating and 2 years of living together, it has become apparent that it would be best for everyone if we changed our living situation and no longer cohabitated. So, in making this decision to take some space, not because we don't love each other, we are really setting a boundary and doing what we both know is best for us. And it was hard. It feels absolutely like eating a giant piece of celery. Not something that either of us want to do, but something that we know is right and really going to be good for us. And in those moments of doubt, when I started to question as we discussed this, and I wondered what was the best thing to do, was I making a mistake? I kept coming back to that sticky note on my mirror. I trust that I have my best interests at heart, no matter what. I already have anchored in the fact that I trust myself and I know I will be okay, no matter what. And that's the thing about self-trust and helping it grow. It doesn't mean that you won't feel afraid. It just means that you know that you're strong enough to face whatever comes next. So remind yourself of times when you trusted yourself and things worked out. Remind yourself that your gut instinct is right and true. And if, like me, you're in a season of change and you're staring down a hard decision or doubting your instincts, I want you to remember this. You have trusted yourself before, and you can trust yourself again. You are capable, you are wise, and you are stronger than you realize. You can anchor in self-trust, just like I have. If this resonated with you today, I'd love for you to follow me here on YouTube, over on Substack, or wherever you listen to podcasts. I share stories like this all the time, this one being the most real and raw because it is actually happening to me right now in real time. Real, honest moments from my life, old diary journal entries, all kinds of messy stuff, in hopes that maybe my mess will help you feel less alone in yours. So, thank you for hanging out with me today on this special crossover episode. And remember, you can trust yourself even when it feels like eating celery. Love you, mean it.